Texas Attorney General Greg Abbott may seek to appeal a decision given to a North Texas teenager probation in a deadly drunk driving crash. Prosecutors say 16-year-old Ethan Couch had a blood alcohol level of more than 3 times the legal limit for adults when he hit and killed 4 people on a rural road near Fort Worth earlier this year. Now, during the trial, his defense attorney argued the teen's affluent family was dysfunctional and condoned his use of drugs and alcohol. An expert witness even claimed Couch suffered from a condition known as Afluenza and never had to face the consequences of his actions. So was the judge too lenient on the 16-year-old because of that testimony? That's our topic this half hour, and we also want to hear from you, so please go to Facebook and Twitter and share your thoughts. So right now our panel is joining us live in the newsroom. So, oh my goodness, Chris, so many people just can't believe this one. And as an attorney, would you have ever used this defense?
It's the topic of the week. I've been doing interviews all week about that. No, I would not have. I have handled a whole lot of these types of cases. They're sad. They always are. You feel so much sadness for the family who's lost their lives and their loved ones, or the injured people that get there in other cases like this. And you feel sorry for this young man who got himself into this position. There are no winners in these types of cases. But no, I would never have put on a defense called Afluenza. Even knowing the family dynamics, I would have found another way to argue it, because my fear would have been a judge would have said, if you don't understand consequences, young man, let me teach you, and put him in prison. And that's the backlash that you could have had from something like Afluenza. I just don't think that defense is something that I would have ever employed in representing people in these types of situations. It's a very, very difficult thing. Now, Greg Abbott says he's going to try to appeal this thing. He can't. The government doesn't get 2 shots. The Constitution is set up to protect defendants from government having 2 bites at the apple. You get 1 shot at it. They tried the case. Here's the outcome. You don't get to appeal it now. That's the way it is. Jackie Bally, you know, we've been outraged at this Afluenza defense all week long since we heard about it, and I quite frankly would not have ever done that. But there are situations where when you look at someone like a 16-year-old who made a mistake, is it necessary that he always goes to prison, or can we look at other things and say, well, you know what, maybe this kid can turn his life around?
Well, I have a 16-year-old, and if he ever were to do something like this, which he wouldn't, I would feel as a parent that you should pay the consequences. And if you do something, you take another life, then probation, 10 years probation, I think is what this young man was given.
Which is the maximum for probation.
Which is the maximum for probation, but they were going for 20 years in prison. And I would feel that as a parent, I would have certain rules, and my young man, my son, would understand what those rules are. But what's more troubling is that they're saying because he had a life of privilege, he didn't have any boundaries. His parents did not set up any boundaries. If this were a poor child, someone who did not have a life of privilege and did something like this, the defense could not use this case or use that for defense. I think it's more troubling not only that the lawyer used this for defense, but that the judge agreed and said, yes, because you're a young man who you've never had any rules, right. You never had to abide by rules, and because you have a certain amount of privilege, yes, you're going to get away with yet again something else. This is outrageous. And to go back on General Abbott, I think unfortunately, since it worked right now, you're going to see other attorneys maybe try to use this again. And actually,
I disagree.
I hope so.
Yeah, I disagree. That's a one-time shot, because now it's like when we got to go to Donnelly. I'm coming back to you, Mustafa, but it's like John Hinckley when he got found not guilty by reason of insanity. It's taken us since then to get people focused back on mental health issues in criminal cases, and so I don't think that Afluenza Donnelly is going to be a major defense that people are going to use.
Well,
I hope you're right.
Our Facebook friends hope not. You know, Danielle Pandora Moses says this is disgusting. She says this kid should be in prison. Marsha Kushner also says this is a joke of a punishment. She says, I'm outraged. And you know, so many people are saying, what about a poor child who's in a dysfunctional family who doesn't have any boundaries? Well, that poor child wouldn't have been able to put on this same defense.
Well, a poor child doesn't get the Afluenza defense, but there are, look, and I deal with this every day in my professional career. And there are people who don't need to go to prison, even though they've done very, very bad things. And you have to look at everything. Affluenza aside, we have to look at every aspect of this person's life along with the lives that he took in determining what's a proper punishment.
Yeah, well, in my professional opinion, the judge made the right call. He's not going to run for re-election because this is, look, there's no logic in this. I don't know the specific parts of the law in this, but it defies common sense. It defies common sense in terms of how we should adjudicate young people. It defies common sense in terms of our legal system. So I think that I'm hoping this is an anomaly. I don't think that a lot of people are going to use this, especially after the press that they've gotten of this. And I'd love to know what the judge was thinking. I'd love to understand that.
And unfortunately, we don't get to ask that question, Domily, of the judge. You know, what I feel sorry for is the next lawyer who has to try one of these cases anywhere in the state of Texas, who's not even putting on this affluenza defense. But now I've got another young person who's accused of killing somebody in a drunk driving incident. I'm fearful that that jury is going to unload on my client because of this case in Fort Worth.
To make up for this one, exactly. And I agree with you, Mustafa. I think it defies common sense. Thanks so much, you guys.
All right, we'll be back in a little bit.